Hey everybody, welcome back to the Bocce Piles channel. I'm your host Brian, and today we are once again playing a channel staple in Temur Rhinos. So for the list today, we're playing the same 60 as last time on the channel, and that means 6 Spirit Guides, 2 Mystical Disputes, 2 Murktide Regents, 4 Wastelands, 4 Lorien Revealeds, Fire and Ice, 3 of those, and 3 Brazen Borrowers. So the 4 Lorien Revealed and the 4 Wastelands are great at cranking out Murktide Regent. Some things you might see in the Murktide Regent slot could be some main deck Endurances, or Hull Breacher if you're a crazy person like me. But I think I like Murktide Regent the most. One problem is this card, Questing Druid, which, gets +1/+1 counters and easily grows to surpass 4/4 Rhinos. And typically, what we like to do in this deck is Brazen Borrower, large threats like that. And Brazen Borrower is just not effective against the Questing Druid because they get to seek the beast again. So we could ice down a beast token, a Questing Druid that's overly large, or we could go over the top with Murktide Regent. And Murktide Regent is just so good with these Wastelands and Lorien Revealeds because they fill up the graveyard. So I think I'm a fan of this strategy. Now in the sideboard, we've just cut the Brotherhood's End and the Hull Breachers to play 3 copies of Blood Moon, which I think are a bomb against the 4 or 5 color control lists. You might say we have Wasteland already as like a non-basic land hate. But Blood Moon, I think, is a worthwhile enough bomb against 4 or 5 color control. And I'm just going to want to jam Blood Moon sometimes. Brotherhood's End, just costing 2 red and 1, is a little challenging on this mana base. And I'm not sure it's something we need anyway. Fury usually gets the job done. And we have Force of Vigor for artifacts and enchantments. So maybe Brotherhood's End is just worse than either of these options and not needed. All right, so that's what we're running today. Let's do it. All right, so we're on the draw here, and we've got a fine hand. It can only not turn 1 because Shardless Agent here requires a blue mana. So we'll need to Taiga and get a blue source. But we're going to be able to play around Daze. And we have a Brazen Borrower for backup. So this is pretty much how we draw it up. Well, we're getting hit by a Grief, so that's unfortunate. So we'll need to top deck another Cascader if we want to go far. Or maybe they'll take Lorien Revealed, but if we were to slam a blue source, then we could just Shardless Agent turn 1 anyway. Oh, now that I think about it, I could just Spirit Guide for with Lorien Revealed to grab an island here. And then we'll be all set to go on turn 1. But I guess we'll see how they want to play it. Okay, so they do take the Shardless Agent. And they're going in with Entomb. Alright, well I can't stop it. So they Entomb Griselbrand. So I could end of turn Spirit Guide to make sure I have the blue source for turn 1. And then potentially, like we have a Spirit Guide, Petty Theft option if they're trying to play Animate Dead. That's like the 1 reanimation spell. Like if we bounce Animate Dead before, it has like a triggered ability, and that prevents the Griselbrand from coming into play for 1 turn at any rate. So I'm just going to grab the Tropical Island here. It's not like we need to play around Daze or anything. So I'm just doing it. Okay. Well, we ripped the Shardless Agent. So that's a reason to do the end of turn Lorien Revealed. Now, if they just reanimate Griselbrand on turn 2, I mean, it's pretty unlikely that we're going to win. Because they can draw a bunch of cards and probably deal with a Brazen Borrower in our hand or get another fatty into play. But they might, you know, brick on draws, and Brazen Borrower bouncing this Griselbrand might somehow get the job done. They have a Dark Ritual, so I would say they're about to reanimate this Griselbrand. Okay, so they're playing Exhume. So we get to put Shardless Agent into play, but that Cascade trigger it does not trigger when it enters the battlefield. It has to be cast. Yep. So, yeah, they drew 7 cards here. I mean, if they get like a discard spell, that would probably be the best thing, but another fatty in play might also be a brick wall. All right, so they've cracked their Polluted Delta, gotten Badlands, and their Faithless Looting. All right, they're drawing more cards off Griselbrand, so maybe they did not find what they needed to, like a Reanimate, and maybe we'll bounce this Griselbrand. Oh, they found a Lotus Petal. And here's the Animate Dead for the Atraxa. So they're gonna get to pick, you know, a card type from among these revealed cards. I don't see any free mana in there, so that at least is a good sign. As things stand, if we get to Petty Theft the Griselbrand and attack, I guess we don't quite get there. I was thinking we would deal 10 damage. But they'll probably block a Rhino rather than a Shardless Agent. They do have a Lotus Petal. Okay, there's a Thoughtseize. So that means they're going to lose 2 life. And if that's all they do, then if we rip Fire and Ice or Brazen Borrower, then we actually do have enough to win if we tap or bounce the Griselbrand. So here we go. I mean, we had the one epic top deck in hitting that Shardless Agent. So can we have one more epic top deck? All right, here we go. All right, we drew Misty Rainforest. That's not going to do it, so we'll concede. All right, so we do get to bring in Inevitable Betrayal here, which lets us get a creature out of our opponent's library. And this is just the matchup that it's for. And so we'll be boarding out the Rhinos, so we cascade into that instead of the Crashing Footfalls. And then some Endurances will also empty their graveyard. Now, as for cards to board out, I think Murky Rege is a little slow. We don't have a ton of time to fill up our graveyard. And then I just need one more card. And I'm looking at either Mystical Dispute or Minsc Boo. I don't think the Mystical Dispute is... Oh, never mind. I guess that is the right amount. Yeah, we boarded out 3 and 2 and brought in 3 Endurances and 2 Betrayals there. So, okay, here we go. I mean, we could potentially hardcast something, or hardcast Mystical Dispute to counter something. So, all right. So this hand is probably too slow. I'm definitely going to mulligan here against Reanimator. Okay, so this has the turn 1 with Force backup. So this is what we call a keep. We'll bottom the Minsc Boo. And I guess I'm just going to go ahead and do it now, rather than wait until their upkeep. I would expect they'll just concede here, which they sure do, rather than let us have a good look at their deck. All right, well, I don't see any reason to switch it up for game 3, so let's run it back. So the opponent's on a mulligan to 6. I mean, this hand has Force of Will and basically nothing else. We could hardcast Inevitable Betrayal on turn 3, but it does have Suspend 3. I think this is going to be a mulligan. So this is a turn 2. It's unfortunately just a little slow. Do I want to try to go for a more broken 5? So if we get Thought Seized here, they're going to take Simian Spirit Guide or Lorien Revealed. But if we top deck Elvish Spirit Guide, we're going to be able to just go off. I mean, if they take the Lorien Revealed, we could just go off. If they take Simian Spirit Guide, we'll have to wait. Well, we certainly have an abundance of Cascaders here, but it's just a little awkward. See, it's just not really a turn 2 hand. Well, it's so we can go off on our turn 2. All right, I guess I'm gonna keep. If they have the turn 1, then they have the turn 1 over there. I don't know, having it on our turn 2, you'd have to say is pretty good. It looks like they've got the turn 1. They're hard casting Grief. So I guess we have to let this resolve, but alright, hard cast Grief is not so bad. I mean, I could Simian Spirit Guide to Lorien Revealed in response, but I want to use Simian Spirit Guide to play one of my Cascaders. They do take the Lorien Revealed, so we want to draw any kind of mana here. Well, that's not it. But we have one more turn to draw any kind of mana, and the opponent has no creatures in their graveyard to reanimate and just 3 cards in hand. So we could be okay here. Alright, deck, let's draw a mana. Alright, well, Endurance can at least buy some time. If they go for it here, we're all set to Endurance them. And we still just need a mana, and we've got this. Alright, deck, a mana. Okay. So I think I'm going to keep the Lorien Revealed in hand because we can't go off this turn anyway. And this will be a surprise that I don't want them to know we have it, and we can just Lorien Revealed on their end step, basically. So here we go. We're down to 11. I think we're going to be okay, folks. I guess I'll just get Tropical Island here. If something somehow goes wrong, that gets us closer to playing Endurance. And I guess I'm just going to go ahead and play the Shardless Agent. Oh, no, I can't. I have to go for the Violent Outburst. Okay. Because we don't have a blue and a green. All right, here's the Inevitable Betrayal. Okay, so what do I want to go with here? We can do Gristlebrand and draw 7 cards. I could do Archon of Cruelty and make them sacrifice their grief, but Atraxa lets us see a bunch of cards, and we don't need to pay any life, so I'd have to imagine it's Atraxa here. And there's no other surprises or anything in their deck. I would imagine they just have some reanimation spells and whatnot in their hand. All right, let's do Atraxa. We found Force of Will. Let's get a Planeswalker. Let's get a land that can play Endurance. And let's get a creature. And, all right. Okay, so we're in there with Atraxa. And we can just pass the turn. So what I'm going to do is discard the Inevitable Betrayal. And then we can Endurance it back into our library and do the thing again next turn. And I'll just get rid of a Shardless Agent, I suppose. I mean, I guess Minsc and Boo is really not doing a lot here. And it's not a card that they can reanimate. So the opponent hasn't conceded yet. So we get to have fun with this Atraxa for at least a little bit here. A Dark Ritual, okay. I don't know if they intend to try to Dark Ritual out a Gristlebrand here, maybe. A Grief. All right, so I'm just going to allow that. Okay, and they go ahead and concede after griefing. All right, well, there's a win. Inevitable Betrayal out of the sideboard, doing work. But yeah, we were going to Endurance ourselves on the end step, and then Shardless Agent into Endurance, into Inevitable Betrayal, not Endurance, and then grab a Gristlebrand. Okay, we're on the draw for round 2. The opponent's on a mulligan, and we have a fine hand here. We can Violent Outburst on turn 2 with Force of Negation backup, and we have Murktide Regent coming down the line too, so a lot to like about what's going on here. All right, they play Delta and crack it. Watery Grave, so it would appear it's blue-black Death Shadow. All right, they played Ponder and chose not to shuffle. Okay, so here's a Simian Spirit Guide. So do I want to just go off here and walk into Daze? I guess I can afford to wait. I don't want to do it on my turn because I want the Force of Negation backup. So I'm going to at least pass into their turn here. I mean, Death Shadow typically does not start applying a large amount of pressure. Okay, well now they're going to Thoughtseize me. So I guess we are walking into Daze here, huh? But we do have the Force of Negation backup, so I think it's okay. All right, let's get an island. Drawing the Spirit Guide was a great draw because this lets us fetch a basic island, which is going to be instrumental in casting this Murktide Regent when the opponent has Wasteland there. All right, our Cascade triggers on the stack. Here's the Crashing Footfalls. The opponent does have the Daze, so I'm going to force that. So it does mean that our opponent's just going to get to Thoughtseize away our Murktide Regent, and that's a little sad. But I think we just have to accept it, and maybe we'll draw our other Murktide Regent. All right, our Murktide Regent is Thoughtseized away. The opponent's at 15. Rhinos is pretty tricky against Death Shadow. See, the Murktide Regent would have been the perfect card to go over the top. Maybe what I should have done is forced the Thoughtseize just to keep the Murktide Regent in hand. And then we could have gone off the next turn. But if they don't have Death Shadow here, that'll be good news. Force of Will. But I guess I have no choice but to attack. play out this land, and pass the turn. They do have Death Shadow. We're once again hoping to rip Fire and Ice or Brazen Borrower. Yeah, and they of course do have the Death Shadow. Lorien Revealed. Well, we can at least Force of Will whatever our opponent goes to do next here. Attacking into Rhinos, or attacking into Death Shadow is really... I mean, I could have put them to 3, I suppose. That number doesn't seem like it... Didn't they have a giant Death Shadow at 10-10 against our 1 Rhino? That doesn't really seem like it improves things. Now they're down to 6 here. And so that means they would be dead to a fire if we manage to draw that. So I could maybe think about attacking from this position. What I'd really like to do is draw a Fire and Ice or Brazen Borrower, though. Or another Murky Reach. But yeah, if I had just forced that Thoughtseize, we could have gone off the next turn with a Violent Outburst and still had this Murktide Regent. They're attacking with Death Shadow, so I assume that my opponent is not suicidal and they're about to play another Death Shadow. Okay, well, if they don't have force backup here for their Murky Reach, they just walked into it. The opponent says, dang. Well, they made an even worse play than I did. So, yeah, I don't see much reason not to Murktide before combat there to find out if that attack is safe. But I made a suboptimal play as well. All right, so in this matchup, I'm interested in Endurance and Blood Moon, although they do have the capacity just to fetch a basic swamp with their Troll of Khazad-dûm. But Endurance helps prevent the Murktides from happening. I mean, I could go for... I just don't know quite what I'd board out if I go all in on both of these strategies. I mean, Force of Negation is a card I usually board out in these kind of matchups, although it was pretty good in that game 1. You could board out like a Minsc and Boo against the Daze deck. Typically, just the way Death Shadow plays out, they're less aggressive, and it's all about how the game plays once they get under 13 life and can start playing Death Shadow. And Minsc and Boo, I think, is kind of good in that situation. So, I mean, I could just leave in 1 Blood Moon. In Endurance, I mean, it's just their Murky Reaches. We have Mystical Dispute and our own Murky Reaches. I'm going to try this 2-2 strat for first game here. Well, the first sideboarded game, but, you know, it is game 2. All right, so we've got a fine hand here with Force of Will and some mana and some Cascaders. This is what we like to see. All right, the opponent will start on an Underground Sea and a Thoughtseize. They do take my Force of Will. I mean, that's a fine choice for them, where we have 2 Cascaders. Another Lorien Revealed. Well, we're not going to be wanting for mana, so that is good news. All right, they're going to Swamp Cycle their Troll on their upkeep and thin their library a bit to help improve their draws before their draw step. And we're going to get a Reanimate on the Troll of Khazad-dûm. Okay. Well, I can't stop it. All right, let's Island Cycle Lorien Revealed and grab a Volcanic Island. We do find another Force of Will. So I can just jam here, and I guess that's what I have to do. I'm just a little sad because we don't have the mana in hand right now to to play Shardless Agent next turn because these Lorien Revealeds cost a mana. So we don't have 3 mana already. But maybe we'll rip a mana source Okay, so they have a force. And I mean, I could save my Force of Will. I guess I just have to force this and get my Rhinos on the board. All right. So we have an army of Rhinos, and we're hoping draw another land, or that they don't instantly play Death Shadow. All right, so they played Polluted Delta. They're not going to attack with a troll. That makes sense. Blood Moon. Interesting. All right, well, I'm going to Island Cycle here and make my land drop. So what do I want here? I guess the basic island is fine. And I guess I don't really want to attack here and lose a Rhino. I'm going to try to play the Shardless Agent next turn and swing with a board. Or a large enough board to kill them, I mean. Alright, they have an Orcish Bowmaster. That really doesn't do anything, so we're okay with that. I mean, it'll soak up some damage from a Rhino attack. That's pretty much it. I guess the best draw here would be something that lets me grab my basic forest. And then we could Blood Moon without any regrets. But they have that Polluted Delta to grab a basic land here, so Blood Moon is maybe not that hot. Alright, the opponent is not going to attack. We drew Fire and Ice. It's not a bad one. I'm just going to slam the Shardless Agent here and see what happens. I mean, this Ice is a good card because we can tap that Troll of Khazad-dûm and make a pretty good attack next turn, even if these Rhinos get countered here. Alright, here's the Crashing Footfall. Alright, they do have a hard cast Daze. Fair enough. But we have added to the board, and we're going to ice that Troll of Khazad-dûm. That is going to grow their Bowmaster is the thing. So I guess actually Bowmaster is doing some work here. So maybe I'll just play the Blood Moon. Oh, they have Wasteland. They're probably going to waste me off of something here. Or maybe they're not going to use Wasteland. Alright, so they pass the turn through their attack. And they do waste me off the green. Okay. We do rip the land, though. So now I'm going to fetch the basic forest. And slam the Blood Moon. This at least keeps them off of like Murktide Regent. And they're going to choose if they want the blue or the black land here. They pick blue. Alright, so we'll pass the turn one more time. But this keeps them off of, like, yeah, Murktide Regent. They didn't instantly swamp cycle of Troll of Khazad-dûm to get their black. So they're limited in what they can do. And so we're looking at this Fire and Ice to take us to the Promised Land. Violent Outburst. That's a good one, too. Wow. So what do I want to do here? Actually, I think I want to attack with everything. And then we can pick off the Troll of Khazad-dûm. I'm just going to Violent Outburst. Because they'll use the Troll of Khazad-dûm to block a Rhino. And then the Violent Outburst is going to give it the +1/+0 needed to kill it. And if Violent Outburst gets dazed or forced, we'll at least have more Rhinos coming from the Cascade trigger. So this is what you would call a brutal Violent Outburst. Alright, Violent Outburst does occasionally light an opponent up, and I guess I should see what happens and if it resolves. before I get too excited here. But we're either going to get Rhinos or the Violent Outburst, if not both. So they do have Force of Will, and they're targeting the Crashing Footfalls, which means the Violent Outburst does resolve. We get to take out the Troll, and we're going to be left with 6 power in play, and they're going to be at 4 life. Oh, no, we're left with 8 power in play, and they're at 4 life. With this Fire and Ice in hand, so I would say that all looks pretty good. They're lacking a black source to reanimate that Troll, so... GG's in chat here. All right, I'm giving my opponent some advice about the matchup, and it's to draw a Death Shadow more, which just the way the trample works against the Death Shadow, it ends up growing the Death Shadow in a way that if they're blocking with like a 3/3 Rhino, and you attack with 2/4/4. Sorry, if they're blocking with a 3/3 Death Shadow, and you attack with 2/4/4 Rhinos. The trample damage, they'd be taking like 5 trample, and then the Death Shadow, grows by 5 and sticks around, I believe, the way damage works in Magic. All right. Yeah, because only 3 damage is assigned to that 3/3 Death Shadow, the amount needed to kill it, but then it grows. I mean, 1 damage tramples over, but then there's a giant Death Shadow, and it's kind of a problem from the Rhino end of the matchup. But our opponent, a little bit inexperienced there. That Force of Negation on their Thoughtseize, so I could keep my Murktide, really would have been the next level play in Game 1. But Blood Moon doing just enough there in Game 2. Yep. All right, we get to be on the play for Game 3 here. And we've got a nice looking hand. We're going to suspend Crashing Footfalls and then follow it up with another Cascader, all with Force backup. So it's not an accelerated can of Rhinos, but otherwise this is about as good as we can hope for. All right, a basic mountain from the opponent. So I would assume that this is Goblins, but maybe Moon, Stompy, Prison. Okay. So I would like to get my basic island here off the Misty, but if they are Moon Stompy, basic island plus Elvish Spirit Guide and Forest don't play this Violent Outburst. And we kind of want to have the Shardless Agent to pitch to Force of Will here. So I guess I'm going to accept that Blood Moon may happen here. We may not have our basic island. But we do have Lorien Revealed to grab it. It's the basic force that really matters against Blood Moon strats. Okay, so the opponent's going for the name sticker Goblin. I feel like I could Force of Will this now, but it's like the payoff that we want to Force of Will. This makes 4 to 6 mana. I'm going to save the Force of Will for something better. They get the full 6. Okay, and that would be the payoff here, the Muxus. So we can force that. And this 2/2 alone is not very threatening. So I want to get Volcanic Island. I want to get Basic Island off the Misty. I mean, they probably don't play Blood Moon. I think the Volcanic Island is fine here, is what I'm saying. So let's Violent Outburst. All right. A fire. That's not bad. So I can either fire a goblin or I can ice that mountain. I think I'm going to save fire to be a removal spell and hope that that works and that they don't name sticker into another Muxus. Here's a Chrome Mox. They have the Goblin Chieftain exiled. Here's a Goblin War Chief. That's not a bad target for my fire. Okay, so the City of Traders is removed. I like that. And then there's a Rabble Master. Okay. So what do I want to fire here? The War Chief or the Rabble Master? The War Chief is going to make their subsequent goblins cheaper. This thing is like an army unto itself. And I think I probably just have to kill the Rabble Master here. I'd really like to remove that Goblin War Chief, but I don't think it's in the cards. All right, so they do attack for 4. I'm going to thin my library and grab that basic island. And I'm going to hope to draw a Murky Rege or a Cascader here. Although another Fire and Ice or a Brazen Borrower would be acceptable. Force of Negation. That's probably not going to do a ton here. They do only have 1 card in hand and 3 mana. So I think I can just attack. If they were to deploy... I mean, maybe I just attack with 1 Rhino here. If they were to play the Goblin Bombardier, that thing has like haste, I believe, and menace. So that would be 6 damage, and then they could fling a Goblin. All right, I think I am going to attack with 1 more Rhino, because I can attack with 2 Rhinos next turn, and then we'll have the suspended Rhinos on defense. So I think this is a fine play. And then maybe this Rhino will ensure that we live through the turn. Okay, so they do have the Broadside Bombardier. All right. Yeah, so I'm glad I left up a Rhino, that's for sure. And I guess I'm going to just block the Bombardier, because I think that has the most damage output. Oh, it has Menace, so I, of course, cannot block the Broadside Bombardier. That Menace means it requires 2 creatures to block it. So it is the War Chief. So they can fling the War Chief at me. Oh, they fling it at the Rhino. I think that's good news. But I guess they have to so they don't die next turn. So we're at 9. Yeah, so I don't think they can kill us. At least the way things stand. On their next attack back. Ooh, and there's a Violent Outburst. But we are actually out of Rhino. No, we've only played 2 cans of Rhinos. Okay. All right, so we'll put them to 4. We've got some blockers, so that part is good. They have 3 mana and 2 cards in hand here. Yeah, when they attack with a Broadside Bombardier, they can fling the name sticker at me. Okay, then they do just go ahead and concede, so that's exciting. I'm just trying to read the Bombardier. So it is the mana value. So yeah, it would deal 5. We'd go to 4. And that's the best they can do. All right, great. All right, so I think that these Goblins decks do play Chalice of the Void that we have to worry about. So I'm going to bring in some Force of Vigors. I mean, the Force of Negation doesn't do anything except for kill Chalice. The Mystical Dispute seems pretty bad. So maybe 3 Vigors and 3 Furies. Brazen Borrower could bounce Chalice for a turn as well. Yeah, or we could just force it. Or we could win with Murktide or Minsc and Boo. I think that will be fine. All right, so the opponent kept. And we have this super Force of Will hand that also has Fury. So we could Force of Will something twice. Or just force something once and do the Fury. I mean, ideally, this hand would have a Cascader. And we can certainly stall for time, but if we're not attacking our opponent, we're not getting very far. And so we're really hoping to top deck a Cascader soon. I think this hand is probably a little weak, and that I'm going to have to mulligan. So this hand is kind of a do-nothing hand. I mean, just bouncing something with Brazen Borrower and eventually casting Minsc and Boo doesn't really do it. All right. So this hand does Violent Outburst on turn 2, and we have Fury. But we don't have the red source, so I'm going to put back the Wasteland. We'll use Lorien Revealed to get the red source. Okay, the opponent has the Shatterskull Smashing and the Chalice on 0. Well, see, that's kind of what I was afraid of, and that's one thing that our original hand certainly had the capacity to deal with. So we may just be effed here, but we still have the Fury. So I would say not all is lost. Okay. Well, Wasteland seems like a fine draw in this kind of scenario. We'll take him off the Cabinet of Souls for sure. All right, they do have a City of Traders. There's a Crashing Footfalls. Well, I'm going to suspend it and hope that we find a Brazen Borrower or Force of Vigor before it resolves. All right, they're just passing the turn over there, so they were all in on this Chalice. All right, we're actually almost in hard cast Fury mode here, so I'm not playing this Elvish Spirit Guide. I'm going to cycle this Lorien Revealed. Although if they don't play a threat, we're almost in hard cast Lorien Revealed mode as well, but... All right. I'm going to get the basics and then fetch the Volcanic Island. I mean, they could potentially be playing Blood Moon here. Nope, I did it foolishly because now I don't have the mana for the Fury. I'm missing a red. Okay. Well, in that case, I'm going to not cycle the Lorien Revealed because we may just want to cast that Lorien Revealed. We can't play the Fury anyway, although we can pitch cast it. So here's a name sticker. I'm going to let that go. So they only hit the 4. A Rabble Master. Well, we can clean this all up with Fury. So that's what I'm looking to do at this point. Okay. So we can play the Lorien Revealed here and be looking for Force of Vigor, which could answer this Chalice and get this Crashing Footfalls to resolve. Although we don't get there on that Endeavor. That's a bit of a bummer. But we'll go ahead. I really bungled it. Playing around Blood Moon was pretty dumb. I suppose. Or there was probably, there was obviously a better way to fetch there than I did, and that was not my best. They do have this lingering 1/1 from the Rabble Master. And unfortunately, we just did not get to an answer for this Chalice, so this Crashing Footfalls is going to fizzle. I guess, all right, yeah. Well, we are in hardcast Force of Will mode here, so that is something. I'm glad we took out the cavern, but if they find a cavern, it's going to be bad news. They don't have a cavern, and now they've lost their city. They probably have a bunch of Chrome Moxes in hand that don't do anything. Chalice on 2. And we only have a couple cards that care about that. I guess it's enough that I'm going to go ahead and Force of Will this thing. They did cash in their City of Traders to do it. We could just draw Petty Theft here and be in business. Or Lorien Revealed, that's a good one too. Okay, another Fury. All right, so this time nothing can stop me from screwing up hardcasting this Fury. Okay, so they probably do have lands then, and they just didn't want to lose their City of Traders. Another Lorien Revealed. Well, I'm playing it. Okay, finally, we found an answer for the Chalice. So we'll be cascading next turn. They can only really play one crazy goblin with yeah, we're definitely forcing this. They can only play one crazy goblin off the Cavernous Souls, so even if they get a cavern, it's not too crazy. And we're going to get redeemed here for my terrible misplay. All right, so we're going to bounce the Chalice. Play a Shardless Agent. Oops. We are, unfortunately, this is the last Crashing Footfalls in the deck, so that's kind of a brutal draw. I guess I don't have any capacity to force the Chalice of the Void that's about to come back down. So I guess I don't see any reason to suspend this. I don't think that's going to get us anywhere. I guess maybe suspending it forces them to play it, but if they have Chrome Moxes, they're going to be Chrome Moxing it up before the Chalice, but they don't have Chrome Moxes, and the Chalice is in. They can't stop their name sticker. Please don't get a 6. Okay, so we can avoid the Mux's fate for one turn here. And there's a Fury. So that'll take out a Rhino, but we're going to crack back with our own Fury in a way that's good. Okay, well, there's a Force of Vigor. So I guess that was a reason to suspend the Rhinos last turn. I just gave up hope like I was never... Of course, it felt like there were no Force of Vigors in my deck the way the earlier draws went, but... All right. And I tapped wrong, too. I'm doing this all sorts of messed up. Because now I can't suspend the Crashing Footfalls. But we're at least on the board with this Fury. And the opponent has no board. So they need to get a Fury down somehow next turn to really be fighting back. They do have the name sticker, though. They hit the 6, so I'm sure it's a Muxus here. Sadly, I just don't have a blue card. But it's another Fury. So that's a little less, not as bad as it could be. Okay. All right, let's suspend Crashing Footfalls. We have Fury on defense here. We're going to start attacking this guy with Brazen Borrower. And, yeah, we're holding up Hardcast Force of Will. Goblin Rabble Master. Don't love it. I don't really want to counter it, and I can keep it under control kind of with my board. I think I'm gonna. There's just scarier. It's like the Muxus that I'm concerned about. I'm gonna try to let this resolve here, I think. And we'll just play the Brazen Borrower EOT. Yeah, so we have to trade with their Fury. We're gonna take 3, so I don't know. I mess this game up all kinds of ways, but we're gonna try to make the best of it from here. So here's the Brazen Borrower. Okay, well, fire is a redeeming draw. So we can just take out the Rabble Master. And I'd like to play Simian Spirit Guide. But then we lose our ability to Force of Will things. All right, I guess we're keeping Simian Spirit Guide in hand to pitch to play Force of Will. And we're on a questionable life total here, so I don't know. We kind of need, like, drawing Murktide Regent would be pretty fabulous. Now, I didn't leave up mana to the end of turn Chalice of the Void. Okay. It's just kind of an issue because I can't play Simian Spirit Guide and hold up Force of Will. So I guess it's just shields down on Force of Will here. But I definitely worked myself into an awkward position on this one. Yeah. Okay, well, they play a Chrome Mox that gets countered by their Chalice, so I'll take that. They have a Pyrokinesis. Well, that's going to put us to 1. So that's bad news. Or we're going to go to 1 on this attack, I mean. So I really don't know what I could draw here that's going to do it. And that's definitely not it. Okay. All right. All right, I just need to play the game less awkwardly than that one here. So let's do it. Let's run it back here. So this hand has Fire and Ice and Murktide and Wasteland. It's probably not good enough, although I don't think it's that bad. So this is another hand that can't beat Chalice. But it does have the turn 2 Rhinos, so I guess we're going for it and hoping they don't have Chalice. The opponent kept 7. If only we had one more blue card here, but I think... Sadly, I think I have to go for it. And I should have had it in game 2 there, but I did not. All right, anyway, we're moving on from that game 2. So we've suspended the Rhinos. Here's the Shatter Skull Smashing. And the Chalice on 0. Yeah. All right, there's the cavern. I'm going to fetch to thin here. I guess I'm not worrying about Blood Moon. More lands. All right, well, we're playing Elvish Spirit Guide then. All right, so they played a land. They're playing a name sticker. They roll a 5. And they've got a Fury to take out my Spirit Guide. Yeah, the first hand I had, you know, didn't lose to Chalice of the Void. And it had Wasteland to slow down the cavern. All right, here's another name sticker. Rabble Master. Goblin Chieftain. We can't answer any of this. And I think we're probably dead here. This looks like a lot of damage. Yep. All right. All right, round 4 on the play. And, you know, this is like the old turn 1 with Force backup. So that's good. Yeah, I probably am just going to Violent Outburst on their upkeep to get the Force of Negation back up, rather than Shardless Agent and have no Force of Negation back up, because this can only be played on the opponent's turn. All right, so here's a Misty Rainforest. And I guess I'll fetch the basic island here. We have so many ways to get the basic island, and I don't want to be wastelanded. I think let's just get the forest. And let us Violent Outburst. All right, well, the Rhinos get in there. So I would basically Force of Negation anything from this point. All right, it's a Cavern of Souls on Goblins. All right, so we get to avenge our previous matchup here. I'm excited about that. Let's attack for 8. Sadly, yeah, not too much we can do from here. The Force of Negation is not going to have too many targets. I guess we're going to be trying to Force of Negate a Chrome Mox is probably the only thing that they might have. Okay, so they use Simian Spirit Guide to play a Goblin War Chief. Fair enough. All right, a blue source would be really exciting here. But we get Fire and Ice instead. Well, I'm going to attack. And we'll see what they can do here. All right, a Skirk Prospector. Broadside Bombardier. Okay, well, this all seems okay. We're not losing to this. Are they going to fling a Goblin at a Rhino? That must be the plan, right? Yeah. So they'll need to chump block with a Skirk Prospector. All right, we drew the land. Okay, so we're going to finish them off with fire here. All right. All right. 1 down. All right, so I believe I'm just making the same changes here. I mean, boarding out a bunch of blue cards seemed like it did really affect the viability of Force of Will. We still have 20 blue cards in the deck post-board. But I think we need Force of Vigor, because you just have to have the Force Negation at the time that they play the Chalice. All right. I'm just gonna... I think if we just play a little bit more smartly against Goblins, we shouldn't have any issues. All right, this hand pretty much has it all. Well, with actually having the Force of Vigor, we've got a Cascader and then a Fury. So a lot of our draws are exciting from here. Okay, Chrome Mox, sure. Ancient Tomb, that's a pretty good start. There's the Broadside Bombardier. So they're going to get in for 2 here. It seems that they don't have a Chalice. Okay. Simian Spirit Guide. So we have to turn 2 Rhinos. Unless we end up happening to sacrifice the Simian Spirit Guide to Fury. Or exiling it to get that Fury into play. So I'm going to play the land here. And I'd really like to not Force of Vigor that Chrome Mox. And make sure they don't draw a Chalice for the turn and play it. But man, I sure do want to cut them off of red mana. So I kind of think I have to. I think we got to fade them drawing. I mean, the chances that they draw a Chalice this turn are obviously not very good. And this is a nice 2 for 2. They don't have another red source. That is, of course, good news. They do have another red source. All right, they attack with a Goblin and don't have anything to fling. So that's promising. Battlecry Goblin. That's fine. Okay, and they're down to 1 card in hand. So I'm gonna... I think it's best just not to worry about Blood Moon. Although it seems so free. I don't think we need to... I think I can afford to get the Forest and then a basic island off Lorien Revealed here. Ooh, Wasteland. Okay. Well, we're definitely doing the Rhinos. We could try to Fury this turn instead, which would be good. But I think it just has to be Shardless Agent. And then from there, we can start Wastelanding them. And if we draw a red card, I'll definitely Fury. But we got to get the Rhinos into play so that we can start winning. All right, well, they have a name sticker and 1 card left in hand. They roll a 4, so at least we're not going to get Muxist. So they're probably just going to use the Battlecry Goblin to crank up their squad. All right, so here comes an attack. So they get to put a 1/1 Goblin token into play that's attacking. All right. So I would like to get the Bombardier off the table. I mean, the other choice would be to like block like this guy and this guy and this guy and leave them with just the Bombardier. Then we get to Wasteland their Ancient Tomb and leave them with not very much. Alternatively, if we block 2 Rhinos on the Bombardier, they can... Well, then we have a Rhino that survives I can use this to block the Battlecry Goblin. They could sack something to kill a Rhino, but there's no way that the Bombardier is living, and we take 5. I think it's best just to get the Bombardier and this guy off the table. I mean, the one other thing would be to block. Yeah, I think this is the block. Just get the Bombardier killed. And I don't see. So they could fling like the name sticker. And they got to do this while the Bombardier's in play. They can't do it after combat. So they could fling the name sticker pre-combat to kill a Rhino. And then kill my other Rhino. But then it's my Shardless Agent versus their 1/1. And all right, this looks fine. Okay, so they use the Broadside Bombardier to fling a Goblin at the Shardless Agent. And so it's going to be our 4/4 Rhino. I guess they do have 2 guys here, so, I mean, that's not bad for them. Ooh, but we do rip the Fury. Okay. Well, now we're very much in the clear. And by a Fury, I mean any red card, right? This should, I mean, this is going to be the game, I would expect. Oh, the opponent has a Fury of their own, though. So we do have a top deck battle going on, but it's our 3 lands versus their 1 land. And they have a lot of expensive cards, and most of the cards that we draw, I can cast. So I am just going to be playing Brazen Borrower on their end step. I mean, unless they play something I want, a Petty Theft. Seems unlikely, though. They get the Volcanic Island. That gives us the ability to play Murktide if we draw it. Wasteland is not terrible. That'll either set them back or let us play Minsc and Boo. Another land is less exciting. Although we are going to be in hard cast Lorien Revealed, Force of Will, or Fury territory. All right, that's the game. All right, a little revenge there against Goblins. See, everyone loves a redemption arc. Okay, on the play for round 5, playing for 4 and 1. So we've got a hand that's just a bit of a do-nothing hand here. The opponent has revealed a Yorion Sky Nomad, so this is probably going to be a tricky control matchup. And I don't think this do-nothing hand really cuts it here. I mean, a nice aggressive Rhino start is probably best. Okay, well, we can suspend Crashing Footfalls. Yep, we're going to keep this one. So we're going to suspend Crashing Footfalls, and then Lorien Revealed for a land, and then Violent Outburst, and hope that that is all good enough. Yeah, a Tundra from the opponent, so we are looking at a 4 or 5 color bean build, or just, 4 or 5 color soup. The Rhinos tick down. We do get this land. All right, so we're going to get the Violent Outburst next turn. And I guess I don't see a reason to Lorien Revealed before their end step. Brainstorm for the opponent. All right, their Brainstorm has resolved. And we just need to Lorien Revealed on their end step here. And I guess I'm comfortable just getting Basic Island. I mean, Tropical Island really doesn't let us do much here. I guess they could find Wasteland. Let's get Tropical Island. Okay. So we're holding up Violent Outburst. We're going to see if they want to tap out for something on turn 3 here. This might be our window to Brainstorm. Although what they could do is set up a Terminus. I think I'm just going to let this Violent Outburst, this Brainstorm resolve. Yeah, they are cracking the fetch, so that would indicate that they haven't put Violent or Terminus on top of their library. Or if they miracle a Terminus here, it's going to be in fact a miracle because they won't have put it there with Brainstorm. All right, we're gonna have a little force battle here. I'll pitch the extra Force of Will and keep Fire and Ice around and hope that it does something. Okay, well the Rhinos are in, so that's cool. All right, they get a Savannah, and they do have a Swords, it looks like. Yep. So they're playing a Misty and cracking it. They're putting Yorion into hand. Well, that, of all the things they could have done there, like play Uro, that is not so bad. Draw a Taiga. So I guess I'm going to be icing a Savannah on their turn. They have a Bowmaster here. I mean, it's going to be okay for them. They do have the Bowmaster. So they're going to have 3 power in play between the Orc army. And we draw a pretty bad card in Crashing Footfalls. But they're 3 power in play. It's not enough to deal with the Rhino token, so that's good. Although if another Bowmaster could finish off my Rhino. Thoughtseize. All right, you can take away my Crashing Footfalls. That does nothing, and go to 11 here. So maybe they don't have a Force of Will for this Crashing Footfalls here. All right, it's in. Okay, Mystical Dispute's actually a really good draw there. This can just counter anything that they might do on their turn besides like a Swords to Plowshares. So this Mystical Dispute could actually win the game. Okay, they've got the Mystic Sanctuary. So that can recycle a Swords to Plowshares. Yeah, and they're probably going to Brainstorm into it somehow. I won't be able to stop that. Oh, but they're playing something big and expensive, the Yorion. Okay, so if this Mystical Dispute resolves, we got it. And I mean, they didn't have Force last turn. Wow, we got it. Unbelievable. All right. I love beating 4 or 5 color control soup there. And man, that was awesome. All right. Now I want to bring in the Blood Moons. It's always tricky because you can't play Murktide Regent under Blood Moon. Although, I mean, Murktide Regent on the whole, a pretty good card. But the other options are going to be some amount of Endurances and Fury. So Fire and Ice, I mean, typically what I've done in the past, you board out the Fire and Ice, the Brazen Borrowers. And so Endurance is going to keep Fury from happening, and it's doesn't get taken out just by a Bowmaster. And then 2 copies of Fury, which is something that we can play under the Blood Moon. Yeah. All right, I think that's fine. I think the one thing you might do differently is bring in all 3 copies of Fury as a card that can be played under the Blood Moon. But it's definitely not that good. But I mean, they're probably playing some number of Teferi in their 80 cards. And if that gets down, you know, that is Fury can do stuff. All right, anyway. So we have a pretty great hand here. We actually, well, we can use the Mystical Dispute to get the basic island. But we're not under any immediate pressure to do that. Sorry, the Lorien Revealed to get the basic island. And we can hold up Mystical Dispute. And we've got a couple Cascaders, so that's all exciting. So they're going to cycle their own Lorien Revealed. All right, they want to Wasteland me here. Well, we are not lacking in mana, so that's going to be fine. All right, Wasteland happens. I have to imagine that's going to be their turn unless they play a cantrip. They don't usually play cards like Thoughtseize. And it looks like they are, in fact, passing the turn here. So I do want to get this basic island down so that we're holding up Mystical Dispute in case we end up getting in a force battle over something, like maybe a Beanstalk. I think you just do have to force the Beanstalk, assuming that's something they play. It's an Abundant Growth. All right, well, that's less scary than an Up the Beanstalk. All right, well, there's the Blood Moon. If we can get that down, we're gonna, we'll be in Pound Town. Okay, they are gonna cycle the Lorien Revealed. See, maybe I should have played Volcanic Island there to kind of not telegraph the Blood Moon. They did go ahead and fetch a Tundra instead of like a basic island. So what's this gonna be? An Uro. I don't really care about this, but I could Mystically Dispute it just to keep them tapped out and try to make sure this Blood Moon resolves. I guess I'm going to do that. Yeah, so we're just trying to make sure this Blood Moon resolves next turn. And if that happens, I mean, I think we got it locked up. So, can I have Blood Moon? So they have Force of Negation. Pitching Force of Negation. And I guess I probably pitched the wrong card in my excitement there. But the Lorien Revealed instead of the Shardless Agent. All right, do you have like basic island Hydroblast? Okay, they get the Yorion into their hand. I guess, does Abundant Growth supersede the Blood Moon? It looks like maybe it does. I guess they actually do have a mana over there. But we are at least in there with Crashing Footfalls. And yeah, I really I pitched the wrong card to force there. That was pretty weak. Okay, they have the Surgical Extraction for the Rhinos. Can't do anything about that. All right, so my Rhinos have been extracted now, so there won't be any more cascading. So I guess somehow pitching the Force of Will, the Lorien Revealed was somehow, the Shardless Agent was like low-key the right play. Although another 2/2 beater probably is in fact better than this other Lorien Revealed. Yeah, so yeah, the Abundant Growth does supersede the Blood Moon, and they have Swords to Plowshares, but they are limited to like 1 mana over a turn there, so we're doing it. So I'm gonna attack here. I guess I'm just going to assume they don't have Terminus. Those are like famous last words. Maybe I should have just played the second Blood Moon there. But if we get through this upkeep... Okay, no Terminus. I think we're vindicated in that decision. Okay, there's a Swords to Plowshares, so playing the Elvish Spirit Guide there, I guess, was a good decision. Okay, Mystical Dispute, that's a pretty good one. So we'll play this backup Blood Moon, and we are holding up Mystical Dispute. We're tapping for a green. Oh, they have another Abundant Growth, so that's going to make my Blood Moons pretty much do nothing. Well, it looks like they have decided to pass the turn after resolving this second Abundant Growth. Oh, or maybe not. Okay, they do pass. Shardless Agent. That is at least another beat stick. We'll see if they have some kind of response here. Maybe an Orcish Bowmaster to take out one of my boys. Boseiju. Okay, well, we get another land. So I guess I'm going to add to the board here with my Shardless Agent rather than hold up Mystical Dispute. So we'll see how that goes. Just at a low life total here. And if they answer like one guy next turn, well, they're going to 4, and we'll be putting a lot more pressure on them with 2 guys in play, basically. So they're playing an Uro. Well, that does buy them some time, but that doesn't really answer anything, and it's going to be pretty darn hard for them to get an Uro reanimated with these Blood Moons, despite these abundant growths, because I need 4 blue and green manas. There's another Elvish Spirit Guide. Okay. So do I want to add to the board here? But I lose the ability to hold up Mystical Dispute. One thing I'm concerned about is like the One Ring. That's something they can do with 4 mana. And I'd really love to Mystical Dispute the One Ring rather than have that be a thing that's happening. Oh, this is going to be their Yorion. Well, let's see if they have an answer for this Mystical Dispute. Okay, they concede. All right. I guess I knew they had the Yorion and could have predicted that that's what they were going to do, and maybe I should have just played the Elvish Spirit Guide. All right, well, there you have it, folks. That's another exciting Rhino League. So we beat Reanimator, got to do the exciting Inevitable Betrayal thing, took down the Novice Death Shadow player, took an L of our own doing, basically, against Goblins, and then avenged ourselves against Goblins and beat the boogeyman of the format, that 4 to 5 color control deck. And yeah, I mean, I'm really glad I had Blood Moon in the sideboard, although the abundant growth thing was crazy. But still, Blood Moon, like keeping Uro off the board like that, and then just generally limiting what my opponent was able to do, I think you'd have to say the Blood Moon was certainly good enough. You saw them using Boseiju on Shardless Agent instead of Blood Moon. So I guess the backup Blood Moon really came in clutch there. In any case, I would say the list ran pretty darn smoothly. Mystical Dispute, we did get some clutch things in the final round. Yeah, I guess. I mean, I think this Rhinos list is pretty sweet. You just gotta, play tight, and then you can get those trophies. All right. Well, thanks for watching, folks. Like, comment, and subscribe if you made it to the end. You got to. All right. Thanks. Bye.